be honest. So, social media and dropping water bottles. Let me get that. Is everybody here, have you heard the term social media?
Yeah.
Okay. Raise your hand if you know everything about social media. And I will take my hand down as well. People call me a social media expert. I find that to be a very, very hard thing to call yourself because it's a moving target. It always changes. So if you feel like you don't know everything about social media, join me in that club. All right, so before I get started, I wanted to thank the the Ministry of Tourism of the country of Zimbabwe, thank you so much, and the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority. Thank you for getting us out here and giving us the opportunity to talk to you. So as for me, I'm Roni Weiss. I wear many different hats. The first on the top, that website, I do travel and events blogging. And the @ anybody know what that means? Over there where it says @ Roni Weiss?
Twitter handle.
Twitter, that's my Twitter handle for me personally. In the middle, email address obviously, and then my company, Social Media Consulting, is RW Social. So rwsocial.com has different tips. Email me, I will write up tips for you and it'll go to everybody. So any questions you have, help me, help everyone. So, social media. Now, this seems like a huge, huge topic. It is. I mean, it's a massive sort of a thing, but it's a lot simpler than it might seem at first glance. All it's really about is that first word, social. And being in Africa, and having seen last night, you know social here. You know interacting with people. You know making friends. That's all you're doing. Whether it's just you as a person, whether it's you as an NGO, you as a country, you're making friends, you're making connections. And these people are quite possibly already friends with you. People who come to Zimbabwe. I love Zimbabwe. I mean, I didn't know anything really other than what I saw, like everybody will tell you, in the media. I'm staying over at Zimbabwe, and they said, "Did you see the elephants?" I said, "What?" I walk over, and there are elephants bathing themselves and just feeding. That's not something I would see if I was staying at a hotel in Midtown Manhattan. So, I mean, I don't think so. That would actually be pretty frightening. Social media, to me, this is not a definition that I've seen anywhere else. I mean, not to say that I invented it, but as I said, there are many different definitions to it. What I say social media is creating and maintaining relationships online. As I said, it's just social. It's interacting with people. And that's usually done by sharing content. What is content? Content is a catch-all word that means anything. Anything you write on the internet, anything you put pictures of, videos of, audio, that's content. So if you share this, you share it with people, they respond, that's how you get people to care about what you're doing. That's what social media is. By the way, this means that we're switching the slide and not having like some weird tick. So, if you want to be on social media, great. But like anything, social media, for a lot of you, will be a marketing tool. And if it is, like anything in marketing, you need to know what your goals are. If you don't have a specific goal, well, what are you going to do? So the first question I would ask, as I said, because it's social, is who do you want to connect with? So, who? It's something to think about. Do you want to connect with potential travelers, people who, in general, are thinking about traveling, people who are thinking about traveling to Africa, people who are thinking about traveling to Zimbabwe or your respective countries? That's a question you need to ask yourself. Is it people who've already visited? You're not just trying to get, like the video that Andrea showed from Egypt. That was in the middle of travel. What about when those people go home? Then what? You don't want to lose them. Those are all ambassadors for you, who are in their own country. It's great seeing somebody in Egypt talking about being in Egypt, but what about after? Those people are at home on Facebook, on Twitter, talking to people. If you're engaging with them, you're engaging with their audience. So remember that too. So that's also something. Also another thing is not just the individuals, businesses. B2B, business to business, is a huge thing you can do via social media. Okay? So those are some different options to think about. If you don't have goals, it's just chatter, it's just talking. And having been in Africa just a little, I know Africans like to talk. So there's no problem with that. Just talk to people. That's great. That was not an insult. I just want to make that very clear. I like to see Africans talk. So, just talking to people as a negative. Talking to people makes you know them and them know you. And it's better than just having a sales presentation. If all you're doing is talking to people about why they should come to Zimbabwe, why they should come to Zimbabwe, that's so limited. If you get to know them a bit more, and you can do that through Twitter, you can do that through Facebook, through finding out what people's experiences are. That's what you want to do. Just selling your own thing is not enough in social media. You need to use other people's experiences as well. It can't just be about you. Which is great, because that means you have everybody's experiences to use. You don't need to come up with all of it yourself. Some of the most successful social media marketing campaigns in the US are done by companies that just take what everybody else is saying about them. In the US, a big thing that's happening right now with marketing campaigns is basically making consumers make the campaign for you. What would you do? A specific example is actually Harley Davidson did exactly this. What would you do with a Harley ad? So the ad companies are asking people to do it. So if you have people's stories, you can do the same thing. So here's the question. Where do you do this? How do you do this? All this is all well and good, but what's the practical? So here's a bit about social media. Now that's a lot. I can't do all that right now. So that's also not even everything. I understand why, okay, there are many people I know all over the world who say, I'm not going to do Twitter. It's too much work, or even Facebook for that matter. It's understandable, but if we simplify, we can have a better sort of strategy. So I'm going to talk about 5 different things that I think can be your pillars of using social media. Those are Facebook, Twitter, blogging, email newsletters, and LinkedIn. So, Facebook. As you might have known, they just sold a lot of stocks. And seeing it on Twitter, Mark Zuckerberg just got married. So there's some news if you don't know. Facebook. So who has a personal Facebook profile? Okay, so part of the room. If you learn nothing else from me today, if you are going to use Facebook for your organization, for your business, for whatever you want to use it for professionally, do not make a profile. Okay? You want to make a page. They sound similar, and people will refer to them as the same thing. They are not the same thing. Profiles have friends. Pages have likes. These are Facebook terms. I mean, they're pretty clear what they are. But that's a very important distinction. So don't make a personal profile for your company, or your organization, or your country. It's great having friends, but don't do it. You can have a personal thing where you have friends. Don't do it professionally on Facebook. I'll show you the difference. So, this is my personal profile. So, I have my friends who are talking, the events, people's birthdays, etc. And this, coming out, is my business page. So, you see, it's liked, because I like my own business, and this is what's going on there. So 59 of my personal friends like my company, etc. So make sure that you set it up. And how you set it up is you just go to facebook.com/pages. So if you're logged into your personal account, just go to facebook.com/pages. And the other piece of advice I'll give you is make a username. So facebook.com/rwsocial, as opposed to what it defaults to, which is facebook.com/blah, blah, 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 blah. You do that at facebook.com/username. So those are 2 things to remember. Facebook.com/pages and Facebook.com/username. Twitter. Now, that's over 140 million active users. Facebook was 900 million monthly users. So those are different, obviously. But what's important to note is an active user is sometimes more useful to you than somebody who just goes on Facebook once a month. People on Twitter tend to share a lot of things. Twitter is all about content. Facebook, you can talk to your friends. You can look at pictures of people from high school. Twitter is, I wouldn't say more professional, but it's less just the people you know centric. So, what do you need to know about Twitter if you're just doing it right off the bat? It's quick. You have 140 characters. That's 140 letters, punctuation marks, spaces. It's not a lot. So you need to take whatever you're going to do. If you have a very big brochure for whatever you're doing, all that needs to be very short and it needs to be timely. You also don't have friends. On Twitter, yeah. It's a very different sort of thing. On Facebook, if you have friends, you need to request them and get accepted. On Twitter, you don't. So you can follow anyone. So if you're just starting out on Twitter, you can make connections with whatever organizations, businesses, whomever you'd like to. So that's a very important distinction. And this is just if you haven't. Who here has a Twitter account? Oh, okay, more than I thought. So this is what Twitter looks like. This is my personal one. So I have, what am I, almost at 3,700 people following me. I'm following 2,600. I shouldn't say people, that's organizations, companies, whatever else. And I've put out over 27,000 tweets, which says I've wasted a lot of time, and I've used a lot of time. And I'm not going to say it's been both a use or a waste. It's been a mix, I'll be entirely honest with you. So this is the feed. These are the different people I follow. This pops up, and you can play around on Twitter, and you can ask me questions later on. Now, TTOT, I help run the biggest Twitter travel chat. We get tens of millions of impressions on the hashtag every week, which means that impressions are, in theory, people being able to see what you've done. So TTOT, you can find out more information about it at facebook.com/traveltalk on Twitter. The way it works is 9:30 a.m. and p.m. on Tuesdays. People come on Twitter, and we ask 5 questions about a travel topic. So this week, I think it's food. And people from all over the world interact with each other and just talk about different aspects of travel. So it's professionals, it's bloggers, it's people who just love to travel. So it's a good place to think about talking to people on. Blogging. So if you're going to be on Facebook and Twitter, what are you going to put? You need content. So a good place to have content is your own blog. Now, what does a blog take? How much does it cost? It can be free. That's the thing about all this. Everything I'm telling you here, if you're just starting out, everything here is free. So it's a pretty good price. Now, what is a blog? A blog is a way to, A blog is a way to share things with people in a way that you can't otherwise. Newspapers, newsletters. You don't have to print them. You don't have to send them overseas. You can have all of that centralized in one place and then share it through your social media. So an RSS feed is a way to share what you've done. People can follow your RSS feed and see the different things you're putting up on your blog. So this is my company's blog. I put different social media tips. This is through a website called WordPress. There are 2 different versions. One you need a server, so you need to pay for server space, and one is free. The free one is called WordPress.com, and you can just go there and set up a blog. It's important to know. If you're setting up a blog, WordPress.com is free. WordPress.org is different. It gets confusing. So, email newsletters. People say email is dead. I've heard that. Who here uses email? Much more than anything else. So I don't think that email is dead by a long shot. The thing about email newsletters is that you don't need to have somebody look at your content. You can just send it to them. MailChimp is a good free one. You can change stuff there. So if you go to MailChimp.com, you can set up an email newsletter. If you have a list of emails to people, you can send things out about things that are happening. Same thing you would in the newsletter. So this is an example of the newsletter for my blog. I went and saw a dog show in New York and talked about different things that were going on in my life then. So LinkedIn is the last thing I'm going to talk about today. LinkedIn, who's here heard of LinkedIn? Cool, very good. And the people who've heard of it, do you have a profile on LinkedIn? That's less. Is your profile fully filled out? Even less. Okay. That's the first thing I would say. Go to LinkedIn, sign up, and fully fill out your profile. Talk about all the things you do, all the things you've done. It's pretty easy. It'll talk you through it. It's a very important place to find connections. What LinkedIn is it's a way to network without having to go anywhere. It's great to be able to meet people in person. I would not be able to just be on my computer. Oh, maybe I would. But I wouldn't have have the deep connections that I would just through online. But you can't be in person all the time. So making connections without leaving a computer is a great thing. When you go on LinkedIn, there are groups. They're about all sorts of different topics. There are a lot of travel ones. There are a lot of tourism ones. So if you just look through the groups, join groups that make sense to what you're doing. Or if there isn't one for what you do, make one. And find people and have them join it. People share different things there. It's a great place to connect with people professionally. So just to see what LinkedIn looks like, this is what it looks like when you log in. This is just the standard login page. And then this is my profile. So it tells you your name, what you're doing, where you are, what you've done, education. It's a CV, basically, a resume. So people can see who you are. You can do recommendations. So if you get people to write things about you, someone can see a very clear depiction of your personal, professional history. So that's it for now. If you have any questions, as I said, you can email me over at Roni@RoniWeiss.com or approach me. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm kind of Polish. So we have some time for Q&A, so if anybody, just very quick time for Q&A, if anybody's got anything. Yes?
Thank you for your highlights, but I wanted to find out how someone can streamline this social media, because sometimes you are bombarded with just so many. For example, you didn't talk about the new ones like Where Are You Now, Shita, all sorts of things coming on. And if you're a working person, it can really be annoying. So maybe you need to highlight on how best people can, because even getting onto all the ones that you've just put on there is not possible. And I think that's why now there's a link between Facebook and Twitter, or LinkedIn and Twitter, just to try and bring together, bring down the number of media that one can be on. Sometimes it can actually be a problem where you get lots of friends coming on and you have to say no and whatever. So I think you just need to alert people that sometimes it's not necessary to go on everything. And there are also people who are taking someone's photo and putting on their profile so that people start buying their products because they see that picture. And if you are busy, you have not opened that thing for a weekend, then you hear people say, "Are you now working for this company? We've seen your picture there."
Okay, those were a few different things. Let me address them. So yeah, there are a lot of different platforms out there. So the first thing I would say is go to the biggest ones first. I mean, there's a reason you've heard of Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. These are very huge platforms. Where Are You Now is a very good one. Pinterest is a new one that's working very well for a lot of people. But what I would say is, if you go to New York and you're on the subway, you'll see an ad, and in the bottom, you'll see a Facebook logo and a Twitter logo. It's not just about marketing now, it's about communication. If you don't have an email address now, I think you're a bit far behind. If you don't have, in all honesty, you just can't connect with people that way. If you're expecting people to call you from the US to Zimbabwe or write you a letter, it's not going to work, for the most part. Facebook and Twitter are somewhat similar in that way. If people can't find you there, you're losing out on a lot of business. So I would say focus on that first. As for abuse on these things, they have pretty staunch reporting things. If you report things to Facebook and Twitter, they usually address this. They're very concerned with copyright and misrepresentation. So make sure you just find on the respective platforms where to do that. The last thing I would caution you on is, you were talking about trying to save time via connecting Facebook and Twitter and things like that. Do not do that.
Oh.
It sounds great in theory, in practice it's not. The example I give is, it's like going to Spain and speaking Portuguese. They're different languages. The way people interact with people on the different things is very different. So don't go and think, oh, the way I speak on Facebook is the same as Twitter. There is a bit of nuance. As I said, with Twitter, it's just shorter to begin with. So I would not link them together. Just have kind of a basic thing. You don't need to be on there all the time. At first, when you're getting on Twitter, just be there so people can reach out to you, so they can communicate with you. You don't need to be on there every second. Just have it there. I highly recommend just being there, have a profile so people can contact you, so they can follow you, even if you're not at the position right now to be active. I think it's a very important thing. So, I'm out of time. As I said, feel free to come up and ask me any questions, and I will try to help you out. Thank you so much, and I enjoyed the